Okay, so you're thinking about a new human resource information system, an HRIS. It's really easy to get pulled into a whirlwind of software demos. But here's the thing. We're not just talking about a software update. This is a huge transformation for how your entire HR department works. It's a total shift in how you do things.
So what kicks off this whole journey in the first place? Well, it almost always starts with a really common, really frustrating problem. Let's just call it what it is, the HR paperwork nightmare.
I mean, really think about it for a second. Is your HR team just buried under a mountain of administrative tasks? It's a feeling a lot of people know way too well.
And what's wild is just how universal these headaches are. We're talking about critical info scattered across a dozen different spreadsheets, employee files that are never quite up to date, those painful manual payroll calculations, and just endless, mind-numbing, repetitive tasks. And all of that is happening while your employees can't even find basic info for themselves.
Look, the only way out of that mess is to get organized before you start looking at vendors. It all starts with building a real blueprint for success, and that means defining your why.
So here's the most important piece of advice. Resist that urge to jump right into demos and sales calls. Seriously, the most important work you're going to do happens right now, inside your own company. Taking that step back to figure out your goals is what keeps you focused on what you actually need, not just on some flashy new feature.
Let's get specific. What are the daily hurdles, the bottlenecks? The things that make your HR team look at each other and say, there has to be a better way to do this. Nailing down these frustrations is your first step. It's how you build a real case for making a change.
Now, let's take that a step further. Think about the opportunity cost here. Every single hour your team spends on manual data entry, that's an hour they're not spending on employee development or strategic planning or building an amazing company culture. It's a massive hidden cost that hits your bottom line.
And finally, let's zoom out and look at the whole company. If your people can't easily check their vacation days or look at a pay stub, well, that just creates friction. And guess who has to deal with it? It just adds more to HR's plate. A modern system should empower everyone, not create bottlenecks.
So once you've put your finger on those pain points, you can start matching them to actual solutions. Your checklist has to include these core features. Centralized data. That's not just about being neat, it's about having one single source of truth to make smart decisions. Automating payroll, that can free up dozens of hours a month. And good performance tools, they can turn a once-a-year chore into a real, ongoing strategic conversation.
All right, we've got our core needs mapped out. Now it's time to look under the hood. Because the technical foundation of your HRIS is every bit as important as the features your team sees every day.
The first big technical word you have to get comfortable with is integration. Look, if your new HRIS can't talk to your accounting software or your other business tools, you're not actually automating anything. You're just swapping one manual task for another. Real efficiency happens when all your systems work together.
Okay, this next topic. It's probably the single most critical technical piece. When you're dealing with sensitive employee data, there's one thing that is absolutely non-negotiable.
And this is so crucial. We're talking about people's most private information, social security numbers, salaries, health details. There is zero room for compromise here. Security can't be an afterthought. It has to be a core requirement from day one. So what does that actually look like? Well, it means you're looking for these essential layers of protection. You need strong data encryption, you need role-based access controls so people only see what they're supposed to see, and of course, you need proof that the system complies with regulations like GDPR.
And one last technical point. Think about the future. Your company isn't going to stay the same size forever, right? You need a system that can grow with you, whether that means adding hundreds of new employees, expanding to other countries, or just turning on new features down the road. Don't solve today's problems by creating tomorrow's headache.
Okay, we've talked strategy, we've talked tech, but let's be real for a second. The best, most powerful system in the world is totally useless if nobody wants to use it. And that brings us to the human element, putting your people first. Just think about the tale of two systems. On one side, you've got a clunky desktop-only system that feels like a chore and actually makes more work for everyone. And on the other, you have an intuitive, mobile-friendly system that empowers employees with self-service and genuinely cuts down on admin work. The difference isn't just about efficiency, it's about the daily experience of your entire company. So, you've defined your needs, you know what a good system should look and feel like. The final piece of the puzzle is picking the right vendor. And please remember, this is a long-term partnership, not just a one-time purchase.
A really practical way to do this is with a scorecard. When you're evaluating vendors, don't just get wowed by the demo. Ask the tough questions. What's their customer support really like when things go wrong? How are they going to help your team get up to speed? And is that pricing really transparent, or are there a bunch of hidden costs waiting for you in year 2?
Ultimately, this is the whole point. This is the why we talked about at the very beginning. A successful HRIS project isn't really about the tech. It's about empowering your team to stop working harder and start working smarter, shifting their focus from boring admin to strategic work that actually pushes the business forward. So now that you've seen the blueprint, the last question is for you. You know the problems, and you know the path forward. Is your HR team ready to finally leave that paperwork nightmare behind and truly transform?